You are standing in the middle of a busy train station in another country. The air smells of fresh coffee and warm bread from a small bakery nearby. People are walking quickly, suitcases rolling across the floor. Suddenly, a friendly tourist looks at you and says in clear English, "Excuse me, could you help me find the bus to the old town?" In that moment, time feels slower. You know the answer. You know exactly where the bus stop is. But the words in your head feel stuck, as if they are locked behind a heavy door. Your mind races. What if I say something wrong? What if my pronunciation sounds strange? What if they do not understand me? So you smile, point in the right direction, and say nothing more. The tourist thanks you and walks away. You stand there watching them go, wishing you had spoken. This is where our story begins, with one traveler, one mistake, and the start of a journey from fear to mastery. Her name was Anna. She had dreamed about traveling since she was a teenager, saving every coin she could, reading travel blogs late at night, and watching videos about faraway cities. When she finally stepped off the plane into a place she had only seen in pictures, she felt as if the world had opened its arms to welcome her. The colorful markets, the smell of spices, the sound of music in the streets. It was everything she had imagined. But there was one shadow following her through every beautiful street: the fear of speaking English. Anna had studied the language for years, memorizing vocabulary lists and practicing grammar exercises. Yet whenever she faced a real conversation, her throat tightened and her thoughts scattered. It happened at the train station, in cafes, and even when asking for directions. One evening, as she sat on a bench beside a river lit by hundreds of city lights, she realized something important. If she wanted to truly experience this journey, she could not keep letting fear make her silent. That moment would lead her to the greatest lesson she had ever learned: that mistakes are not barriers, but bridges to mastery. It happened on a bright, breezy afternoon in a coastal town. Anna was strolling along a narrow cobblestone street lined with colorful houses and flower boxes spilling over with red and yellow blooms. She heard the distant cry of seagulls and the hum of conversation drifting from an open-air cafe. As she paused to admire a hand-painted postcard at a market stall, a young woman beside her asked in English, "Do you know if the lighthouse is open today?" For a moment, Anna froze. The old, familiar wave of doubt washed over her. The fear of sounding awkward, of searching for words and finding only silence. But then a quiet thought pushed through. If you turn away now, you will miss more than just this conversation. She took a breath. Yes. It is open until sunset. You can see the light from the cliffs. It is very beautiful. The young woman's eyes lit up. They began to chat about the sea, about travel, about favorite foods. Anna stumbled once or twice, replaced a forgotten word with a description, and even laughed at herself. Have you noticed how a genuine smile or a small laugh can erase the sound of a mistake? That day, Anna discovered that connection, not perfection, is what keeps a conversation alive. Anna's first lesson was simple, yet it changed everything. Mistakes are not the enemy, they are the evidence of progress. Before her trip, she believed each error was a sign of weakness, something to avoid at all costs. But during that conversation by the sea, she realized that mistakes were not stopping her. Fear was. Think about this. A child learning to walk falls dozens of times, yet no one calls it failure. Each stumble is a step forward. Language works the same way. Every wrong word, every misused tense, every pause to find the right phrase, they are proof that you are moving, learning, and growing. Here's your hook. What if your mistakes are simply your passport stamps on the journey to fluency? Each one marks a place you have visited, a challenge you have faced, and a skill you have improved. Anna began to see her errors as small treasures. She wrote them down in a notebook, reviewed them later, and smiled at how quickly they turned into strengths. The fear of making mistakes began to fade, replaced by the excitement of discovering what she would learn next. After that day, Anna stopped waiting for perfect moments to practice English. Instead, she created her own opportunities, no matter how small they seemed. In the mornings, she would order her coffee in English, even if the waiter spoke her native language. In the evenings, she sent short messages to new friends she met on her travels. Sometimes, she even spoke aloud to herself while walking, describing the streets, the weather, or the taste of her lunch. At first, these actions felt tiny, almost insignificant. But over time, they built a rhythm, like the steady beat of footsteps on a long journey. Each sentence spoken was another brick in the foundation of her confidence. Here's your hook. Have you noticed how drops of water, falling day after day, can carve a path into stone? Your daily practice works the same way. It shapes your skills quietly, steadily, until one day you realize you are no longer afraid to speak. Anna's mastery did not come from one big leap. It came from hundreds of small, deliberate steps, repeated until they became as natural as breathing. The final lesson Anna learned was perhaps the most liberating. People are not watching you as closely as you imagine. For years, she had pictured every listener as a silent judge, measuring her accent, grammar, and word choice. But the more she spoke with strangers, fellow travelers, and shopkeepers, the more she realized they were simply interested in what she had to say, not how perfectly she said it. One evening, while sitting at a harbor cafe, she joined a group conversation with visitors from 3 different countries. Everyone had a different accent. Everyone made small errors. Yet no one cared. Laughter and stories filled the air. Here's your hook. What if the only person truly judging you is you? Once you release that weight, your words flow more naturally, and your voice gains strength. Anna began to focus on connection instead of perfection. She used gestures, expressions, and even humor when she forgot a word. She discovered that warmth, curiosity, and sincerity could carry a message further than flawless grammar ever could. Speaking freely became not just possible but joyful. Anna's journey began with silence and hesitation, but it ended with laughter, conversation, and the quiet pride of knowing she had grown beyond her fears. She learned that mistakes are not proof of weakness, they are proof of courage. She discovered that small, steady actions are far more powerful than waiting for the perfect moment. And most of all, she realized that the fear of judgment loses its power the moment you stop giving it your attention. Maybe your journey is just beginning, or maybe you have been walking this path for a while. Wherever you are, remember this. Every word you speak is a step forward. Every attempt is a victory. If Anna's story has shown you anything, let it be this. Your voice matters, and the world is waiting to hear it. I invite you to join us here on EnglishStoryHub, where every episode will inspire you to grow, speak, and believe in yourself. Subscribe today, and let's take the next step together.